Here's
Yeah,
the
sure.
card. All right, so this is my pack, right? Oh my goodness, it's giant. So let's go right to the rare. Can you see all the cards?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Skarn, when you play an action, this troop gets +1/+1.
Yeah.
The problem with this card in draft is that you tend not to have that many actions. So it's a very
Right.
troop-based combat. It's like a war of attrition between threats and answers, basically.
That looks bad. 3 troop gets +1/+1 for each card in opposing chance. That seems bad as well because they're not gonna have a lot of draw in draft. Is this a bomb? Looks like it might be.
No, that's one of the worst cards in the set.
Okay, cool. I just thought for a second maybe it was.
Basically, if you want to skip past all that junk there, go down to sort of like the last 5 cards, the first 5 cards even. You've got Repel there, which is a really good removal card. Destroy target attacking troop.
I think that's probably the one we should take, right?
Yeah, there's also Survival of the Fittest, the 6th card, I think it is, the green one.
Okay.
That's also a removal card, but not quite as powerful as Repel. You have like...
Oh, how do I take it? Uh-oh.
You can drag it or just click it, one of the two.
I barely made it in. Do I have to click a button now, or is it just... Okay.
Yeah, it'll automatically go through. So if you look at the very last card here, Wizard of the Sultan, that's a pretty good card. Other notable cards in this pack are Effigy of Nuzlan.
Wait, hold on a second. Create a... So he basically you get 2 copies of him for 4?
You get 1 copy of him, and you get a bird as well. And every time the bird deals damage to the opponent, he gets +1/+1.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's like a troop and a flyer, and the troop has a chance to get buffed up.
The monolith isn't that great, right? Since it's just every other turn you control one dude.
It's not terrible. It's just not a second pick.
Gotcha.
Like, this is where you see the best cards in the pack because the most cards are in the pack. So that's sort of a card you take later on.
So what was the other card you said was decent?
Okay, so you've got the Wizard, which you've looked at. Sensei is a really good card, but it's probably not the best card in this pack. It's just a 2-cost cantrip. Essentially, you draw a card when it comes into play. And the other one is the second card in the pack, the Effigy. You might want to just click onto Wizard, though, while you're reading it.
Okay.
Because otherwise,
you might miss it.
You lose it, yeah. So right now you've got a diamond,
blue, silver.
You've got a diamond and a sapphire. But that doesn't mean you're necessarily in those cards. It just means what you have right now. You've got another removal here. The first card is another removal. That's Mesmerize. It essentially keeps a troop exhausted once it's exhausted. It's not like tier 1 removal because it has to attack you first before you can exhaust it permanently. But it's a pretty good control card.
Yeah, it seems reasonable.
The best card in this pack is probably the last card. That's kind of...
Destroy. Oh, yeah. Wow, that seems really strong. Should we take that?
Well, it's up to you. Either you can take the Mesmerize and continue on the Diamond Sapphire path, or you can just take the best card in the pack and see what you get after pack 1 and see where you want to go after pack 1.
I think I'm going to do that. If nothing else, it's a good card.
It goes pretty good with your Orcs as well. You can whack that straight in that Orc deck and do some work with it.
I have a feeling what I'm basically trying to do is draft up to a decent control deck.
Okay, so that's a rare. That is, it essentially creates 4 booby traps and puts them into your opponent's deck. And when they draw one of the booby traps you put into their deck, they take 4 damage. And they also lose their draw.
Seems kind of lame, but not terrible. This Thunderbird looks real good.
Yeah, Thunderbird, probably one of the better cards in this pack. That Blood Cauldron Ritual is pretty good, but he requires you to build a deck around him. You need a lot of troops you can sacrifice. Necessary Sacrifice is also a very good card. That's the last card on the top row, the Blood one. Sacrifice troop, draw 3 cards. It's a pretty good trade-off. You get a lot of card advantage. But yeah, I mean, Thunderbird looks fine for you here.
Why can't I take him? It freaks me out every time he won't commit. Yeah, Thunderbird just looks really strong. A flyer with rage seems quite strong. Is there a lot of removal in draft generally?
It kind of depends what shard you're in, but yeah, there is quite a lot in diamond. Not so much there's not a lot of hard removal in sapphire because it does a lot of bouncing and exhausting stuff.
Tyrannosaurus generally be good? I realize we probably don't want to take it here, but is that costing of a card good in draft?
It's okay. It's not great. It's maybe like a 23rd card or something. It's not like what you would consider a bomb. A bomb is a troop which sort of has those stats and a really strong effect as well.
Right.
So that Unmerciful Tormentor might be okay for your Orcs, but the best card for you here is probably the first one, because you can put the flight gem into this guy, and he's a 2/4 flyer for 4, which is actually really, really hard to deal with. The 4 back end, very hard to deal with in limited play.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. As soon as I saw him, I was like, all right, that's the guy we're going to take. He just seems really strong. Oh, we can get another one of him? That seems promising. Oracle Song. So basically 3 to draw 2 cards seems reasonable.
It's not bad. Card advantage is always good, but when you've got a pretty stellar card like Mystic sat there.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the other ones at this point. That guy looks bad. That guy looks...
If you actually just click once on the Mystic, it will highlight it, and that will automatically take it when the time runs up.
Okay, good. I didn't know that. Atrophy groups. So that's a good habit to get into. Just click in one. So this Scrivener, he's not good in draft, right? He would only be good if you could completely build around him somehow.
Well, you know that card Righteous Paladin you looked at from that pack you opened, the one where it gets +1/+1 every time you gain life. If you pick up one of those and a Scrivener, that's really good, because obviously every time you're playing a troop, that Paladin is getting +1/+1.
Right. Twisted Fate. When you draw a card, bury the top card. That counts kind of lame. 5/5. That seems not that great. But this guy looks pretty good as a permanent blocker you can have out.
Yeah, he's not too bad. The other option is Counter Magic. I think Quick Stride is probably better, just because again it's a war of troops. Whoever has the most unanswered threats usually going to win. Counter Magic's a little bit slow. It's a reactive play. Right. You have to not play something on your turn in order to play it, and then they may not cast something that you want to counter, so you've just wasted a turn.
If I was in red, I would want Ruby Aura, right?
Yep, that's correct. Completely correct. That card's basically pseudo removal.
Right. Okay. Let's see this guy. Flight defensive. So defensive, I take it means he can't block. I mean,
he's actually a really strong card, because say you use your repel and it goes into your graveyard, you can shuffle it back into your deck because of the
really strong.
The limited amount of removal. Putting it back in your deck is quite good, but actually the better card here is the second card, the Wind Whisperer.
Exhaust target troop for 1. Wow, that seems amazing.
So that's basically pseudo removal as well. You can keep one of their troops permanently locked down just by paying 1 every turn.
You pay 1 less to use power for each artifact. Yeah, okay, yeah. He sounds really good. I like the other card a lot too. Like they both seem like really strong cards this late. Does that mean maybe no one is in these factions?
We haven't seen a lot of Diamond. Sapphire seems pretty open, but Diamond has been pretty closed off. We have picked up a few good Diamond cards here though. For you here, you don't really have any artifacts, so that Researcher Adept isn't going to do too well, but that Stoneclaw Gargoyle can actually be quite handy late game. If you're like holding a resource and you just chuck that into play, ditch your resource, get a new better card.
This guy?
And it's a flyer, so yeah, that's probably the best one.
Choose and discard.
So that was actually the pack you started with.
Oh, interesting.
And this is the pack afterwards.
Zodiac Shaman. That seems kind of horrible for 5. That seems interesting.
Yeah, the choice is between really either taking Shield Trainer or taking the Runic Monolith, and Monolith's probably better for you.
Really? It seems like Shield Trainer would be better.
Well, it's really a toss-up. It's your preference, but
I guess,
more removal over a 1/1 troop.
Yeah, every other turn removal is still reasonable. Oh, probably shouldn't be scratching my eye with no time. Guard Dog. Guard Dog seems kind of reasonable this late.
All of the cards here in Diamond are pretty much trash. More or less. Like, there are situations where you'd maybe want to use them. I'd probably hate draft the Mortar Strike, because that's a removal for another color.
Okay. I was kind of tempted to take Bravery. Since it's a quick action, it feels like you could maybe be kind of tricky and keep one guy alive a little bit longer. Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's your first draft, this is your first pack. You'll probably find, if you take a card like Bravery, by the time you get all the cards for your deck, that's just not going to have a place in your deck.
So do I just take Radiant Armor then?
I'd probably grab Sorrow. Again, just hate draft the removal if you have nothing to pick.
Okay.
If there's nothing that's going to be really beneficial to you, just take the best card, essentially.
Is that Rigid Buffalo here?
For you, potentially you could use Rigid Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, it goes really fast here at the end.
Yeah, the problem with that is, though, I mean, the good thing about that is most of the cards are just going to be trash, so it doesn't really matter.
So this one, Sorrow?
Yep, that seems like the best pick
there.
there.
Seems odd that card is around this late.
It's a common. There's a lot of them. Most of the blood decks will only want to run one.
Oh, okay.
So once you picked up one, you don't really need to worry about it.
Gotcha, makes sense.
So what you can do now is if you click that mortar strike quickly, click the mortar strike and then drag it to that little white box in the corner.
Oh, and it'll stop showing me these cards.
Yeah, and then there's a thing saying bin up the top, so you can see what's in your bin. You still keep the cards, but you just get them out of the way so you can sort of build your deck as you go.
This one into it. Oh, I'm gonna move on for now.
Okay, so the rare is literally the worst card in the game right now.
Choose and discard 2 cards. Yeah, that looks terrible. Okay. Any high-powered cards here? He doesn't look that great. Exhaust all opposing troops. That seems interesting, like a closer card.
That's probably the best card. That's probably the card you want to be taking here.
Shards of Fate. Interesting. Survival of the Fittest. Let me at least highlight it. Where was it? Cavern Commando seems really bad. Again,
as you get to know the cards, you just be able to look at this pack and from the pictures know what they do, and it makes it a lot easier.
What about this +1/+1 flight? That seems like a decent card, but it's just like not a first pick card because it's not nearly strong enough.
Yeah, it's good, but it's no Stormcall.
It feels like Stormcall is not a first pick card either, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
Normally, no. In this pack, yes, that was a pretty terrible pack. So you've got Righteous Paladin, which is that card you saw in the other two, which is something you should seriously consider reading, because you have a lot of flyers so far.
And that's it's an enhancement.
It's a constant. You put it into play. It goes on the board, and all your flying troops.
I have at this point. I have a couple. So
you've got the 2 Mystics, you've got the Wizard, you've got the Thunderbird, and you've got the Gargoyle. So you've actually got 4, I think. And there's also a champion ability, a Sapphire champion ability that gives a troop permanent flight. So you can use that.
What does Steadfast mean?
Steadfast means it doesn't exhaust when it attacks.
Okay, so the Diamond Aura seems kind of interesting to put like on one of those flyers.
I mean, it's again a card you can use, but the cost of it just makes it not something you want to be picking this early. Maybe you pick it up later on, and it does make it into your deck. But more often than not, it kind of won't. Hopefully, that Mystic of the Tranquil Dream will wheel back around to you. If not, you've got the choice of that Diamond Aura as well.
Wait, what do you think I should be taking? Air Superiority?
Yeah, for sure.
And this,
but I'm just talking about because this pack will come back around to you again.
Okay, the Windborn Acolyte seems pretty good for my deck, but just not right now.
Windborn Acolyte is not something I would ever take, really. Just because it's a 1/1/1, it's just too easy to remove. So you've got pseudo removal here up the top. You've got Wind Whisperer again, which is the white card that exhausts a troop, and you've also got Time Ripple, which is the card next to it, the blue one. And Time Ripple, 2 cost, quick action, return a troop to the owner's hand, and it gets cost +1. So they're attacking you, return it to their hand. They've wasted a turn. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would probably, I would be hard pressed to choose between those two. Time Ripple costs less, so I'd probably just take that.
I mean, the nice thing is Wind Whisper is repeatable.
It is, but you've actually got quite a low curve here, so tempo is kind of important to you. So the Ripple could help you get.
You don't think Gargoyle, even though he's kind of amazing. It's just he's a little too expensive for what I've got going.
Well, he's a 5-cost 3/3. His effect is okay. It's not really great, but his stats don't match his cost. He's actually slightly overcosted by 1-ish. Okay. For what he does. So you've got another flyer here, which is Diamond. That's the Griffin. There's actually the second Paladin you've seen, which is kind of crazy. But you've also got the second card in the pack is a really, really good card as well.
Yeah, that seems really strong. To be able to buff one of those flyers. This Tier bot seems really, really costly.
Yeah, but in a dwarf deck, it can come out for like 3 costs.
Yeah. You think Noble Citizenry is the best card here?
Yeah, I would definitely take Noble Citizenry in this pack.
I could go for that. Yeah, in this
Noble
deck,
Citizenry is just one of those cards that you just love to see. It's like never bad, really.
Right. Righteous Paladin seems like you really have to be building around him, and if you are, he's amazing. But
Yeah,
if you're
he
not,
is.
he's not good.
Especially if you get 2 of them, which someone probably has now.
Right.
So
Right.
straight up, without even thinking about it, the first card in the pack is the one you want.
Yeah. Yep, I can see that. I have a lot of removal. Is this normal?
It is. Diamond's got quite a lot of good removal.
Okay. So if you had to rank them, what would be your order? Just what
The shards?
you generally look to draft. Yeah.
Diamond's probably my favorite draft shard. Sapphire is really... They kind of do different things. Like Diamond has all of the removal. It's got some pretty decent troops as well, but it's a lot of support troops like the Whisperer and the Noble Citizen that gives +2/+2. It has a lot of removal, and then probably the best shard for like getting damage through is Sapphire because it has a lot of evasion, a lot of flight.
So quick question: do you think the Griffin is the best card? He seems overcosted, but the pack seems kind of bad.
Well, Scarlet Griffin is exactly the same as your Mystic of the Tranquil Dream, but it just costs 1 more threshold. Because that's going to be a 2/4 flight.
That's true.
And so's that.
Okay.
So it's actually equivalent to Mystic, really. And because you were in a flight deck, that's pretty good. Like this card and the Mystic are basically the yardstick. Like you need to ask your deck, can it deal with a 2/4 flyer? And that's basically how draft works.
Okay.
So you've got a Phoenix Guard Trainer here, which is the Inspire guy that gives everything flight that comes in after it.
Seems kind of crazy good.
Seems good for you, yeah, because you do have that air superiority. There's another Stormcaller. You probably wouldn't want to run 2 of those, though. The Stormcaller is a bit terrible because it's basic. You can't use it at quick action speed. So you can't, like, kill an attacker. You have to do it after it's attacked you. So, yeah, I mean, the Trainer seems like a pretty decent pick here.
Seems like... Even if I didn't have air superiority, he just seems really good to be able to give everyone flight.
Right, and it also means you may be able to step away from Feather Drifting Downriver as your champion as well. You may not need that flight, and you can get like Palamedes for +1/+1 or something else.
There's no way to search the deck for air superiority, right? Like I feel like we're kind of all in on one card, which makes me a little worried.
Well, the thing is, your flyers are really strong even without it, because they're flyers.
The Pegasus looks really bad to me. I don't know if that...
Pegasus isn't actually too bad. I mean, the thing is, the main way you kill troops is by blocking them. If you can't block it because it's got flight, it's still doing 2 damage every turn, and it gives you a little bit of health.
What about Mesmerize, though?
It's not terrible. I would take Mesmerize because it's a removal. Removal after bombs is the second priority for you.
You just have so much removal. I mean, it feels like...
That's not a bad thing, man. As I say, it's a... Limited is very much a war of attrition between troops and answers, and usually the person with the most answers to those threats is the one winning the game.
Could give someone flight and 1/1, kind of blah. All these cards seem kind of blah. Would I ever consider Shards of Fate? I
would actually probably take the Shard of Fate here, just because you've got some double thresholds on both sides. This can help you with that. Diamond, Sapphire Aura even is okay.
Sapphire Aura, you said? Okay.
It's okay, yeah. But I think I would actually take the Shards of Fate, but I mean, you can happily take the Sapphire Aura too. Yeah. You have a lot of flight already, though. There's nothing...
quick action? I'm going to take it. I didn't realize it was a quick action. I thought it was a basic action.
All of the auras are quick action, so you could take that Diamond Aura here as well.
Wow, I kind of like that, actually. I'm going to look at the other cards, see if I actually like any of them. I don't. Yeah, I think it's the card, right? The Diamond Aura? Is this just a bad idea to put multiple cards into a card in draft?
You mean us pegging everything on the air superiority?
Like having Diamond Aura or...
Oh, no. I mean, there's a limited amount of removal, as I say. If they do remove a card, that you've put a buff on it, is like a 2-for-1. He is back, but I would actually take the reversion here.
Really? Interesting. So are people...
It's always nice to have a one copy of this card, because you know the Diamond Aura, you know the Sapphire Aura. This card will just take away all of the buffs and permanent effects that have been added to a card. It won't take away constant effects like air superiority.
Right.
But if you've got like a guy that came in at 2/2 and he's now like a 6/6 because he's got loads of buffs on him, you can block him, use that reversion, and he'll be a 2/2 again.
I take the Pegasus, or do I take the Ruby Ore to hate somebody?
The Pegasus is completely fine for you here.
Yeah, seems like it.
You've actually got a really solid looking deck.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And this is only pack 2, right?
I don't have a huge bomb, and so I'm kind of worried. I'd kind of like to find one.
Here, it's all trash. Just take whatever card you want the most.
Okay, let's see. What would be decent and constructed? Any of these?
No, it's pretty much all trash.
All right, I'll take a dwarf. These actually both aren't terrible for me. Shards of Fate?
Acolyte's pretty terrible, but Shard of Fate is the pick, I think.
Okay.
Acolyte isn't bad because you've got air superiority, but it's still pretty terrible.
Okay. Alright. Here we go. Pack 3. Ooh.
Comet Strike, that's a legendary.
But it's a terrible one.
It's a terrible one. But, you know, that'll be, I think it's like a couple of hundred platinum on the auction house.
Is that worth it?
Well, that's,
Let's see what
I guess, 2 packs right now on the auction house is 200 platinum. So you get 2 packs out of that card if you take it, which pays for half your draft already. Cloud Titan is a pretty strong card here. That's the card next to the Comet Strike. It's a 5 cost 4/4. You also got a removal in the form of Sapper's Charge. That's the card above Comet Strike.
Sacrifice this artifact, deal 2 damage. Yeah, that's good too. I mean, is Comet Strike decent? You can void.
You can't play this card in
10.
Constructed or in Limited. Yeah, it's 10 cost.
Oh, wow.
But you know, if you want to build your collection, maybe you just take it. But the Cloud Titan for you is the best card to
I'm
win.
gonna take Cloud Titan. I mean, it's I don't have it anyway, so both of these are cards I need. I mean, are people actually buying Comet Strike? There were a million of them on sale.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just undercut the lowest price, and then it goes fairly quickly.
Okay.
There's a lot of people, I guess, wanting things. So, Ash Harpy is that's a really good card. You can't run it in your deck, but it's kind of a card you like. Here, you've got a really tough choice. You've got the Repel, which is a great removal. You've got the Ash Harpy, which is a bomb, but you can't play it. You've got the Buccaneer, which is above the Ash Harpy, which is one of the strongest commons. So really your choice here is between taking the Repel for your removal and letting the Ash Harpy go around. The chances are that the player next to you might not be in Ruby, and they may take it to hate draft it. So you can risk letting this Ash Harpy go, and someone in Ruby taking it, which may not happen.
I think I would rather draft to my deck than hate draft.
Okay, well, then your choices are Buccaneer or Repel. Repel is the more solid option.
Yeah. Buccaneer doesn't look that great to me.
He is crazy good. That's what I thought when I first saw him as well, but just after seeing him in action. Basically, you put a 2/2 on the board, and you make them waste a turn. It's far more relevant than you would think. And then if they don't hit that resource drop, they can't play that card again next turn. If they're stuck on 3, if you bounce a 3 drop, and they don't pick up another resource.
Of the Ninetales. I like the name.
That's actually really good as well.
Revert and transform into him. What does a Monkey of Ninetales look like?
Exactly like that.
So it would turn anything I want into a 3/4.
Yes, that can be your opponent's troop if it's like a 6/6, or it can be one of yours.
It costs 5. So but you get. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's probably the best card here.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking around. I should highlight it.
There is Time Riffle too, but Monkey, it's one of those cards where you can't immediately see how relevant it is, but it's actually really, really strong.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the deck. I feel like I don't have a lot of cheap dudes that I would want to use it on. Is more what I was thinking.
Well,
I guess,
more often than not, use Monkey as a removal against your opponent.
If they have a bomb.
Yeah, if they have a bomb, it turns it into a 3/4, which you can then block with your 3/4 that just transformed it into a 3/4.
True, and then you just continually block him forever.
So you're essentially removing it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm just going to default to highlighting that, and then we'll see if there's something better. Deck Cycler for 3. That's not bad.
Now, I would have a hard time here choosing between the Trainer and the effigy, the artifact card that's next to that, because that's a 2/2 flyer for 3 because you can put the flight gem in it.
Right.
Trainer, you've already got 1. 2 of them may not be the best, so I would actually have a hard time choosing between those. I guess it's just your preference, really, whether you want a straight up flyer.
Another flyer. I have a feeling that this deck is going to win a game just because they're not going to be able to handle 1,000 flyers.
Yeah, that's generally how flyer decks tend to work.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt I'll win the tournament, but I won't be surprised if I can just kind of be like, hey, you don't have flyers? I won a game. So we'll see.
So far, I would be happy with this deck, even though there's nothing really bomb-like. The Cloud Titan's really the closest thing you've got. But it's a very, very focused and solid deck otherwise.
What about this? Stone Skin for only 1 as a quick action?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing here you'd want to play in your main deck, but as far as your reserves go, Stone Skin's probably the best option.
You could taking this rare.
You could take that. It is an Orc. It can go in your Orc deck. You probably won't ever play that Stone Skin.
Looks really bad.
It's not, because Orcs are aggressive. You play out your hand a lot of the time. You just play out all your cards, and then that becomes a 4/4, and it's kind of hard to
But would I play Stone Skin in this deck? It kind of seems like I would to protect all my
you wouldn't play it in your main deck, I don't think. It might come in from the side. You may not ever play it.
I'm just going to take the Tormentor. Getting a rare that can go into my constructed deck, I think is useful.
Wow.
Another wizard?
Another wizard and a buccaneer. That is one of the hardest choices I've seen so far.
What is the Talon Senator again?
It's a 1/1 flyer, and every time it deals damage to the opponent,
he gets bigger.
Yeah, you can actually click and see what it is.
Seems really good, actually, for only
if you right-click the wizard, it'll bring up a zoomed-in copy of wizard, just like if you're playing. And you can actually click the senator as well. You should be able to. There you go.
That's a hard choice.
Wizard's kind of good. I mean, I'll just go with wizard probably. Okay. I mean, Buccaneers, it's hard to pass him up because he's so good. But
I was going to take the Buccaneer, just to have one of them for like that late game, bounce their bomb back to their hand, push through the win kind of thing. But
you have a lot of removal anyway, so
exactly.
You're probably okay.
All right, technical genius. That's not going to be good. He looks really bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a hate draft the Ruby Aura situation.
I could take this guy just for my constructed stuff.
Honestly, I would hate draft the Ruby Aura.
It's just too good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Actually, that
comes out of nowhere and just kills your troop, and then troop stays alive. It's kind of good.
All right, I'll do that. See if we can move on. Yeah. Oh no, someone's still thinking. Is single elimination draft the only way they have it, or do they also have like a less, like a Swiss draft or something?
Say again, sorry.
Is there a Swiss draft format, or is it just all single elim?
There is a Swiss draft format, yeah. Mistborn Wendigo is pretty good here. So is Turret Waldo, but Wendigo is actually really, really quite strong. It's a game winner. You can win games with that card.
I like the sound of that. Am I just going to give him flying? Or am I going to give him like Swift Strike or something?
Yeah, just I mean, you could give him Swift Strike, but flight, he can become a 5/1 in the air, potentially 6/2 because of the air superiority as well.
And can I keep triggering that? Can I just do it as many times as I want, or is it just once per turn I can do the +2?
You can do it as...
He's -2, never mind. I didn't see +2, -2.
You can do it as many times as you want, but he would die after 2 of them. Probably a hate draft the Mortar Strike again situation.
Okay. Where is that? Here we go. Deal 3 damage to target opposing troop. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I'm just looking at this one. Target champion loses 1. I don't even know what that means.
You lose a permanent resource.
Oh, that seems interesting.
I tried to play that in a draft once and actually got to the finals with Hacky, Um, and then Haki beat me, but I had 3 of those in my deck, and I had those Fiendish Cabalist, the card that gets +1/+1 for each card they have in their hand. And because the demolition meant they couldn't play the troops, they had 7 cards in their hands. It was pretty fun. Did kind of well, but I wouldn't recommend it.
That looks interesting because I have all those guys that make stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it would be good if you had Buccaneers because you could reuse the Buccaneers bounce effect. Here, it's not so great. I would probably just take it anyway because it is probably the best card.
Okay, I was thinking maybe Hate Draft Wrathseeker.
Yeah, it's either this or Wrathseeker, but undoubtedly someone else is in Sapphire as well.
Yeah. Sapphire Aura is decent.
Yeah.
Protector at center when the troop attacks target. I mean, this seems pretty good as well. Oh, he's really expensive though. And then they're just going to untap him. With troop enters play, but target yeah, that's probably not going to work. So probably this. Sapphire Aura.
Yeah, I mean, you can't use it, but it is the best card in the pack.
Wait, why can't I use it?
Well, you know, if you look at the amount of cards you have here, you probably have about 30 cards. The amount of these cards you're going to put into your deck is about 23 after resources, with like 23 cards, 17 resources, because the minimum deck size for draft is 40 instead of 60.
So I want Oracle Song, or should I just take this uncommon?
Oracle Song's fine. You may end up putting it in, maybe not, but yeah, the minimum deck size for draft is 40 and not 60.
Alright, so these all look terrible.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the best card is probably Army Ants.
Sure.
But none of those cards are making it into anyone's deck, really.
Yeah. All look unplayable. How about a legendary? Come on, guys, pass on the legendary.
Let's take the demolition. Baby Yeti is terrible. Yeah. Demolition is terrible too, but it's an uncommon, so.
Sure. In case there ever becomes some sort of crafting system or something.
And there will be a crafting system.
Can you trade right now, or is it just an auction house?
The trading isn't in. Yeah, it's just the auction house.
Okay. All right, here we go.
But you will get 5,000 gold from this tournament, regardless of how well you do.
Oh, good.
And so I can actually hook you up with some commons. Like I can put them up for cheap, and you can snipe them off the auction house, and I can help you sort of put.
Oh, that would be really cool. All right,
put some stuff together.
2 repels.
Okay, first things first. Before you do anything, go to sort by.
Okay.
Not in the top grid. Sorry, go in the top grid. Go to sort by
cost,
and then where it says filters off, go to that, and then take away all the colors except for diamond and sapphire, and leave artifact on as well. And then that'll just show you the cards that you've got in your colors, essentially. Okay. And then you can go through from 1 cost upwards. So if you look through the top row, the only card you really want to definitely take here is probably Thunderbird. I mean,
yeah.
And then just go through by cost, and then it helps you sort of see your resource curve as well.
Start with resources or not, or am I waiting until I see what I put in?
Yeah, wait until you basically just want to get 23 cards in your deck. Take that Shard of Fate out as well.
Oh, take it out?
You can put it back in later just for visual help.
Probably want that. Maybe not the Rigid Buffalo, depending. I guess we don't have any 2-cost dudes, so we probably need Rigid Buffalo, right?
Not really. 2 cost isn't a slot you need to worry about too much. The game really starts at sort of the 3 cost and 4 cost. Thunderbird's like an exception. Thunderbird's really good at 2 cost, but most of the stuff happens at 3 and onwards.
Tell me if any of these don't look like they go in. That look pretty good so far.
Yeah, definitely. Not him.
Play, put target troop you control into your hand. Yeah, go back to him. This guy looks good. He's good. How many are we at right now? 19. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're probably going to be fine if you skip the gargoyle.
Oh, okay. I put him in for the moment, but maybe he comes out. Diamond. We probably want the diamond aura, right?
Potentially, but maybe not. Again, buffs are
5.
It's 5, yeah.
It costs 5 to put on a guy.
It does, yeah. So if you saw the bottom grid by cost now as well,
that seems
it's kind of expensive. So basically everything you've got looks pretty decent. The immediate drop for me personally, I would take out the monolith.
How big does this deck have to be?
23 is what you're sort of aiming for.
No, I mean how big is the total deck size?
40. So you kind of want 23 cards and 17
so you'd
shards.
Take out the monolith because it's kind of random.
That's probably the worst card in there. And then you want to gem your troops, so you want to right-click that effigy, the artifact guy.
How much time do I have to do all this?
You should have about 10 minutes, I think.
Oh.
15 minutes you have. There is a timer in the middle that ticks down.
Okay, I wasn't seeing that. Okay, let's see. So, does it matter what color they? Oh, this is I have to have that color.
Yes, you have to have the threshold in order to for that effect to activate.
Where is flight? Oh, it's only one ruby. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty good.
Just do that in all of them, right?
Yeah, I mean there are other options, but for you, flight's probably the best.
Sort by socketable so I don't miss them, or
no. The next one is the Mystic, the orange card.
Right. Yep. And it has to be the
you have two
same.
of those. So when you don't have to put the same in. You can, if you go to where the card picture is, above that you can just go to the next card. You can actually put different gems in both if you wanted to, but for our purposes here, flight is king, really.
Yeah.
And the last one is the Wendigo.
This deck feels solid. It doesn't feel like I have any cards where I'm gonna be like I need to draw that card and I win, which I kind of like.
So there is a little bit more complicated stuff to this, but if you go over to where you see select champion, which is on the very right hand side of your screen.
Select champion. Okay, where is it? Right over here.
Just below. Yeah. So you can select now a champion. You've got a lot of flight already. Right. So my suggestion would be Palamedes. There is a champion that gives flight, but you do have quite a lot of flight already.
It's permanent +1/+1. That's interesting. Are you sure? It feels like. Are there any champions that put a guy out?
Not in these shards. There's one that puts a defensive troop out, but that's only a 1/1 defensive troop, and it's not really going to help you.
Gotcha. Is draft size different from?
Oh dear.
Oh, does that mean I'll be gone from the draft?
I'm not sure what happens there. I'm not sure how much they patched. I haven't disconnected during the drafting portion in a long time. I guess you're going to have to reconnect and find out.
Do I have to close down Hex, do you think? Or?
Yeah, you will have to relog back in.
Okay. That'll be really unfortunate.
That will be. I was pumped to see how that worked out. Hopefully it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's for sure. It'll be kind of disappointing. My first draft. Don't get to play it. Hurry up, Hex.
The good thing is, though, if that does happen to you, they'll just refund you a free draft ticket if you write to support. So if it has booted you out, all you need to do is write to support. Say I disconnected in the draft portion. I couldn't get back in, and they'll just send you a free draft ticket so you can enter another draft for free, and you'll get to keep all the cards you had already as well. So you get to keep those 3 packs worth of cards.
Right.
So you're actually back in the deck, but it didn't save what you'd already done. So for ease sake, get the wizards, the mesmerize, the repel.
Already sorted. Oh, it's not sorted, right?
But yeah, if something does go wrong in a draft, you get to keep everything you got in that draft, even if you win prizes. Like say you get to round 2, and your draft bugs out, then you get to keep the 2 packs, the gold, all the cards you drafted, and they'd still give you a free draft ticket. So they're pretty good about the fact the game still has bugs and stuff in it.
Did I not put the Phoenix trainer in there?
I think you did, yeah. You want to take that reversion out though. You've missed out repel and taken reversion instead. The very first card in the deck. You don't want that in there, not in the main deck anyway.
Let's see where I am. No.
You're gonna have to re-gem your troops as well.
Yeah. Hope I have time to do all this. Looks like I will.
Yeah, you got like 7 minutes left. And then the gargoyle, I guess. Or you could take the sapphire aura, just as a way to give not the diamond aura, the sapphire aura. Because say you've got that wizard of the silver talon, and it's like a 4-5 or something because the Senator's been hitting them, you can give that flight. I mean, it's your choice between Gargoyle.
I kind of like that. Actually, is that a quick action too?
Yeah, that's a quick action.
Oh, I like that a lot. That seems really strong. Oh,
okay, so
once they select a blocker, then you can't have it fly over the blocker, right?
No, you can't do that, but it does still get the +1/+1. So if it's a 2/2 blocker and you've got a 2/2, you can make it a 3/3 and it'll kill their guy right there. Right. So if you head over to where the champion select button is, but don't actually click it just yet.
Sure.
Just in that area.
Yep.
Go to the very middle button at the top. That one right there. If you go to resources, right now that will show you the sort of distribution of resources in your deck. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see the pie chart a little bit better. So you see here you're much more heavily in Sapphire than you are Diamond. So in this situation, I would take 10 Sapphire resources.
10 Sapphire resources?
Yeah.
Okay.
6 Diamond. And then your Shard of Fate as well.
Okay, yeah, because we want 17. Yeah, it makes sense. Because we only need the 1 diamond to come up ever.
Well, you do have a double threshold in the form of Noble Citizenry, the guy that gives +2/+2.
That's interesting because it says 1 exactly. Shouldn't that be like 1.01 or something? I guess it's being rounded.
Is he in your deck?
Oh, maybe he's not. I don't know.
Check down, scroll down in your deck.
There he is.
That's the average, though.
Right.
So,
yep, so
the amount of 1 threshold ones, I guess, is dragging that down.
I suppose that's fair. Okay, so there's more flights. Do I have any more flight guys? I did 4 different cards.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
So if you click on, you see where it says save and continue. There's a button next to that.
Yeah. Tournament deck?
The other side.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you haven't yet, but if you click that, and you go to select sleeve, I don't know if you may or may not do. You've got some sleeves there. You've got Alpha Player, the Malice team.
I'm an Alpha Player, baby.
You have to select it. You click close, so that wasn't actually selected.
Oh, well. All right.
There you go. So that's going to be your deck sleeves, and then now you can save your deck after you've got your champion. So your choices here are Feather Drifting Downriver, which is, I think, at the top. It's 4 cost, target troop gets permanent flight. You have some troops which you could use that on, but not too many because a lot of them have flight already. The other champion would be Palamedes because +1/+1 is actually more relevant than you would think.
Is this a quick action? Oh, no, it's a basic action.
It's basic, but it's an extra damage and an extra point of defense. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You save and continue. You might have to wait a little bit till your first round starts.
Do I have to wait the whole 4 minutes, or is it as soon as someone else is done, it'll start?
As soon as all 8 players are finished, the first round will start. So you really just got to wait on the other people building their decks.
But more importantly, you do have to sit here and wait. You can't just sort of like go off and do something for 4 minutes.
It will make a sound, so I guess you could do other stuff on your PC or leave your PC. It's not going to... Basically, when you start a match, if you're inactive for 5 minutes, you lose the game.
Sure.
So as long as you're back...
Look
you got to buy. Well done, man.
That's
2 packs for you right there, and like a long way